I think it's been a few, maybe 4 months, 5 months since I've been here. I love this group. One of my big plans moving forward is to get a community engagement team together, which is going to do more of this and get our people out in the communities. So that's one of my 2020 goals, and I can talk about that some more. So Rosie asked me a long time ago just to come and talk and what's going on. And I thought, well, let's get about a year under our belt before we have some info and things settle down for us. So what I'd like to talk about initially is, hey, Tom.
Morning, everybody.
Tyler, come on in. I just talked about you.
Yeah, I bet.
So what I'm going to do, and I guess I can do this. How do I do this?
Just make Jeremy.
Okay. So I'm going to talk quickly or a little bit about my administration because in 2019, our sheriff's office lost 305 years of experience. 305 years. So can you imagine trying to replace that knowledge? It's extremely, extremely difficult. I think we've done a good job. We have the people in place that could fit those spots. So I'm just going to go through our administration, and Jeremy's here. So I picked Jeremy. He was my one appointment that I could pick. And Jeremy and I worked together many years ago when I was in Red Wing, and Jeremy was in Goodhue County, and then he moved on to Lakeville PD. And we just kept our relationship together. And I knew that he'd be a good fit for us at the sheriff's office. So Jeremy accepted my offer and is now my chief deputy, which is the second in command. And he's a very busy guy. I've appreciated all his work. And Jeremy is living in Kenyon. So I'm telling you where these people live because you're going to find that it's informational at the end. My next in command is Jason Johnson. He came from the patrol side as a sergeant. Lives in Pine Island. In fact, he's on the Pine Island City Council. So he's in charge of our patrol division. Captain Voxlin is from the Wanamingo area. Oh, yeah, I said Pine Island for Jason. Captain Voxlin's our investigator sergeant, or captain. He's in the Wanamingo area. He's been with the office for many, many years, 20 plus years. Next, I was able to get a communications captain. This was a new position that was one of my goals when I first got there because I know my limitations in radio systems and all that jargon and acronyms I am not good with. So I knew that we needed our system to have an administrator to know what was going on. So I got Chad Steffen. He came over from the Red Wing Police Department. So he made that transition from blue to brown as well. With that said, that position is obviously new, but he oversees our 911 system, our dispatch system, and all our radio systems in Goodhue County. And Goodhue County owns 4 radio towers. We own the most radio towers in southeast Minnesota. Just because of our topography, we have to have these towers in certain spots so we have radio coverage. And we also have 2 more sites owned by MnDOT that we operate out of as well. So we have 6 sites that we manage, and we went to 800 megahertz in 2010. So that is 20 years ago, or 10 years ago. And they're aging. A lot of our system, they're just outdated. So we had to update, and like I told you guys, I know my limitations, and none of us in the admin, even former Major Paul Gilo said, you know what, I don't know much about this radio system. Scott McNerlin brought it in, and he's gone. So this is how Chad came about. Very grateful to have him. He's only been on board for 6 weeks, and he's very busy. He's already gone out to tower sites, replaced batteries, just things that weren't getting done and nobody really knew how to do. So very grateful for that. The next, we do have a new captain in our jail. He's our jail administrator, Mark Agri, living down in Belvedere. He's been with the office. He was a lieutenant, so I had to replace a lieutenant position, which is Corey. He's our second in command at the jail, and he's from Frontenac. So I tell you where these people live because it wasn't even planned, but if you look at a county map, we're covered. Our administration is covered. We have Kenyon, Lake City, Red Wing, Pine Island, Belvedere, which is pretty close to the middle. So if I need somebody right away in a certain area, I can call them and say, you got to get here. And it just worked out. That's just kind of a fun fact. Wasn't planned at all, but it worked out good. So that's our administrative team. And a lot of that came, a lot of that knowledge left, right? 305 years, I've gained a really good core of people back. And we have also hired 4 new deputies, and they, are they all off of field training? We have 1 left on field training, 2 left, so.
Step 4 and Kylie.
Oh, Kylie, yeah, sure. So we hired 5 and a half. We hired another part-time bailiff too, who also came from Red Wing. So there's 3 of us that switched uniforms. So that's our administrative team. So I don't know if you guys can see this, I'm in the way. Jeremy, who I said is a very busy guy, put these together for me, which is awesome, and the PowerPoint, because I don't know how to make a PowerPoint. So these stats here now, people, are just for our townships. We have 22 townships, and that's where these stats came from. I didn't put Cannon in there. You can get that from Joe anytime. And I didn't put Pine Island in, although we do contract with Pine Island and Wanamingo. And so none of the towns are in here, but it'll just show you a good look on what's going on out in the townships, which is what we patrol predominantly. And what you're going to find is 4, maybe 5 of these categories, and you'll see a few more slides, have decreased over the last year for sure. Thefts on this one is the only one that's increased, and not by much either. So, oops, sorry about that. Last year we had 73, we have 85 for 2019. Granted, 2019 is not over yet, but it still gives you a pretty good, do I just hit it or something? Just another look at some more, I don't know if you guys can read those. Again, one of the only, you can see the chart as well, animal complaints is up significantly. That could be anything from a horse on the road, a cow on the road, an animal, a dog bite. I don't know why I can't attribute that to anything. Just more people calling in about those kind of things. That's probably about the only thing on that chart that is, business checks maybe is increased. And then I'll tell you why business checks increased. Because I've asked my people to get out of the car a little bit more than they have been, and maybe pull on some doors in our townships and in our contract towns. And when they do that, they'll get out and say, could you write me make a business check for me? I'm going to check on this. And we found open doors. Yeah, go ahead.
What is the category assist other? What is that? Assist
Okay, this is going to be assist other authority, I think, which means when we get called to Pine Island Fire, if they call us for help, that'll be an assist other authority. Some of these could be actually, if a Cannon Falls officer stops a car in 52, we might come up behind them, create me an ICR for assist other authority. There could be assisting state patrol, any number of things. DNR. I don't know why. Let's see, how much is it? Oh, it's dropped. Okay. I don't have a reason for that. One thing I do have so I do have a reason for the business checks increase, and I have a reason for traffic stops decrease. And I kind of touched on that. Is it on this one, traffic stops? Maybe it's the next one. Okay. So we'll just go through this one. And I can get copies of this. If you guys want it, I can email it to Rosie. Probably email you one anyway, just so you can have it. Obviously, it's the last 3 years totals. And then we can distribute them if you want. what's the big one there? What's the big increase? Public assists went up by about 100. That, and public assist, you name it. It could be garbage on the road or a tree down. Maybe not even, Tom. I don't know.
Broke down cars.
Yeah. Anytime we're going out to help someone in the public, that's not specified as far as if it's theft or it's any number of these categories.
Could that have been your blizzard top? Where you
I've
guys
got
were
that
doing all
blizzard.
Public assist, probably.
checks and people trapped and stuff?
Yeah,
Would that have gotten
Yeah,
that way?
probably.
that was a crazy day, yes. That really inflated that number.
Should I digress for a minute since we're on that topic?
Yeah.
The snowstorm of February 23rd, 24th, I think it was, if I remember. I will talk about that because it's kind of interesting. We learned a lot from that. So this, as you know, the storm came and we were getting calls that people were stuck in the middle of the road, can't move, the plow trucks can't get around them. All of our squad cars got stuck at one time in the county, and private tractor guys were coming and rescuing our squad cars so we could finally get out to the other people. It was a disaster. And with that said, we decided that we were going to try to get the National Guard to come out and help us because we just didn't have the resources to do it. So I learned that we've never called the National Guard out for anything in Goodhue County as far as a state of emergency. And I didn't know how to do it. I soon found out it was one call away. We called the duty officer and they got me in touch with the Homeland Security Director. And I asked for help and they said, yep, we have a group up at Camp Ripley. We could have them down in about 5 or 6 hours with what they called it's SUSV. Do you know what the acronym is for? It's a tracked vehicle enclosed, and then it pulled another tracked trailer where it can get through anything, supposedly. So they got here, I think, Sunday night at about midnight, and we still had people. We had one particular person that contacted us, I think, Tom, through Facebook and said, I'm still out here.
Yes.
He was there for 9 hours, stuck on county, well, it ended up Wabasha County 1 mile south of Belchester. And he just said, I'm still here. We couldn't get to him, right? Great, that's a perfect one for the National Guard to go out on. So they went out there, got him out of the car, and then subsequently buried their vehicle. So our Goodhue County's claim to fame is we called the National Guard for help, and we had to go rescue the National Guard. So our county grader went out and got the road cleared. Our county truck, I think we ended up pulling out with the grader, is what I heard. So yeah, we had to rescue the National Guard, which is pretty awesome. But what we learned from that, so much, and I think if we have another, knock on wood, I hope we don't, but if we do, we're prepared. Because what ended up happening is we called some of the snowmobile clubs, and they got the groomers to go out and get some people off the roads. So when that was all said and done, now I have a list of all the snowmobile clubs with their groomers and if they're willing to come out and help us. All of them said yes. So we have that list. We also have a list of churches and places that we can put people up in towns all across the county. And we have that list and they're willing to do it. All we have to do is make the phone call. Can you put people up? Because we don't have any place for them. And one thing that we're not going to change, but we're going to do differently next time is we allowed people to stay in their cars if they're in the middle of the road. Said we have people coming. Well, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to get them off the road. We're going to get them to a place that's safe, because we just don't know if they have people coming, they're going to get stuck too, right? It's just didn't make any sense to us to leave people in their car and assume that they're going to be rescued. That was a bad plan. So we're not going to do that anymore. So just with that, and like you guys learned from the storm last year, we always learn from disasters. I mean, it was a disaster, but it wasn't. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt on ours either, on the snow event anyway. So, but you sure learned a lot. Jeff can attribute to that. I mean, if it happens again, you know how much more smooth it's going to be next time? It really, and this was smooth, but like our snow event is going to be a lot smoother than it was. So, and we know we probably won't even need to call the National Guard because I don't want to rescue them again. No, just kidding.
What about a plan to get people to really believe that they should not go out in the storm?
Oh, that? When you come up with that plan, let me know.
Okay.
Because everybody's emergency is an emergency, right? I have to
Oh,
get
I see.
I have to get to the store.
Yes, okay.
I can't. They're not going to fix that, unfortunately, because we see it all the time. Was there not a Corvette on Highway 52 in that storm?
Highway 58, and somebody hit it.
A Corvette
Somebody else hit
with,
it.
you know, the low riding, not four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So you just can't. You can't fix that.
And they got the guy out of it. Later on, somebody smoked it. Somebody hit it with a car.
Yeah. So, I mean, we tried. In fact, we even had county employees calling in and asking them if they have to go to work because the sheriff said don't drive. Well, that wasn't probably great, so we learned that lesson too. I didn't say not come to work. I said try not to drive if you don't have to, right? So that was something that came out of that, kind of a inside joke there. Okay, so I did digress, and I'm sorry. But the snow event was something significant that happened to us last year that we did learn a lot from. I mentioned the traffic stops are down by 300. Not great at math.
There's still 2 months.
And there is 2 months ago, but one of the, and it's not going to surpass last year. And I say that only because we hired 4 new people, and there's 4 new people in field training, and there's a lot of tasks to do. There's not just traffic to do, right? When we have a person in training, and Tom can attest because he's a field training officer, they have a lot of steps to go through before they get on the road, and it's 4 months of field training if it goes well, right? So that's part of the reason that there's less traffic stops this year. And that just goes along with DUIs and so on. So they're down a little bit from last year. And we did have a fatal accident. We had 3 fatalities. I don't know how many crashes. I know one was on County 6, and that was a single, so I don't know the others too, but there's always a few of those, and it's very unfortunate. Was that it? So that's it for the statistics, and like I say, I can get those to you again, and I can come back again. I would love to do it every year if we wanted to do this, and we could keep comparing and what's going on and what the trends are if we can actually pick out a trend. But as in law enforcement, and Jeff knows it, it's ever changing. Our job is changing all the time, and our equipment is changing. And like I say, thank God for our new radio communications captain, because he's kind of up on all that, and he'll let us know, you know what, all your radios, and our radios are dated. They're 10 years old, so Canon and Goodhue, everybody's going to need new, and all the fire departments, we all need new radios because they're at what they call end of life. They'll still work, but we can't get parts for them. And if you can find batteries, they're telling us to buy them. So, and that's an expense that some of these smaller departments can't take on, and we can't because we have to buy them in, you know, we're going to buy 25 this year, 25 next year, just to keep the budget kind of consistent. But we do need those things. Well, we found out, okay, it was our first day in office, and our radio system crashed in the jail. Now, they have VHS. They're not on the 800 megahertz like everybody else. So VHS is clearly dated, and this was it's 20 years old. Our jail's 20 years old, which means our radios are 20 years old. And our repeater was the same. Well, that went down. We barely found a replacement repeater in order for our jails to work. Well, what we did some experimenting, and Chad helped us, even when he was with the Red Wing PD, to see if 800 megahertz would work in the jail, if it would drain the system for our users out here in the field, because this is a little bit more important. So we wanted to make sure it wasn't a strain on the system, and it wasn't. So we found out that we can get on 800 in the jail, and it'll be very efficient. But with that said, we need 20 to 30 more radios for our jail, and a new system in the jail, which we are going to get. But I say that because Jeremy and I, we've taken people to jail. We didn't know a lot about the jail, but we got acclimated real fast. But I'll say this, Paul Gila was our major at the time. And as you know, we ran against each other, okay? Paul stayed on as the major, the patrol commander, and it was so helpful to us because we could concentrate on the jail, what was going on there as we're getting our feet wet, and I didn't have to worry at all about the patrol side. And I was very grateful for that, and I'm still grateful for Paul. He ended up retiring in end of April, I think, to do some farming. It's in his blood, and we were actually sad to see him go because he was very helpful to us. Because he brought a lot of experience, and he's part of that 305 years that we lost. So that was a pretty good experience for us to have him, and I was grateful for that. So with that, you guys, I think I'll just open it up for any questions that you may have about our first year. So we have 10 months under our belt. We're still learning. I think we have our people in place. Once we get all the new patrol deputies on, we'll be full staffed, at least on the patrol side. The jail is a little different beast. We were 3 months ago, we were full staffed. We were ready to roll, and all of a sudden in 2 weeks, Jeremy, did we get 4 resignations? So 4 people out of there, it just kind of threw us again for a spin. Now, well, we better get hiring, and you guys know the hiring process is long. So they need, once we post it, it's a couple, 2-3 weeks, and then you do the applications, and then you do interviews, and once you do hire them, you have to do background checks, which takes up to a month. So, you're looking at maybe 4 months before you even get a body, and then you have to train them for another 3 months. So it's a big process when we do lose people. And that's no fault of our own. A lot of young kids come into the jail and looking for, patrol jobs, because a lot of them have gone to school for that. And we've taken a lot of jail staff to go to the patrol. We took 2 this year from our jail to be patrol. So we like to have that breeding ground because we know how they work already in the jail, and we don't have to background them anymore. So it's really a good fit for us to actually be able to use that as a breeding ground, for no better term, to take our staff, but it just takes a long time.
Particular criteria you're looking for in those people that work in the jail? When they come in with their
we know that you need to be able to work under stress. You need to be able to deal with people that are mad at you often, and just have good common sense and people skills, and just be able to actually talk to whoever. And don't come with any biases, because you're going to run into every sort of human in our jail. And I'm so proud of this, and I will offer it to you guys for sure, to come and take a tour of our jail. You can take a tour of our jail. I'll give you a tour of our facility anytime you want. Maybe let's make it a triad day at the jail or something like that. I'd be happy to host that. But when you go in there, if we do this, when you go into the jail, what you're going to hear is, "This is the best jail I've ever been at," when you ask an inmate. You guys treat us like human beings. I get cards, we get thank you cards once a month from moms or wives or husbands of people that we have in our facility saying thank you for just treating them like a human being. And that's what we need to do, that's what we are doing, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Because it is a really nice, we do treat people nice. And we know that people make mistakes. We're not there to condemn them. They're already doing their time. We just need to assist in that process. So I'm really proud of that, because I do hear it all the time when I walk into the jail and I just say, hey, how's it going? Oh, this is a great facility. Thank you. And so that makes me feel good, because we're on the right track. But let's do that, Rosie.
Do they feel safe in jail?
So staff or our people? Or the inmates, you mean?
Inmates.
Yes, they do. Do we have fights in the jail? Yes, we do. We have about 100 we're just a little over 100 people now. We can hold 165 people. But if you get 100 people or 60 or 50 in one room, you're going to have issues at times. And when they do have that, we do segregate them. We have rooms that are different pods. What do we call them? Pods, I think. That we can separate the fighters and the haters, because you're always going to have that. That's human nature. So, but for the most part, we have a pretty good population that'll do what you ask. They'll clean their bunks, and it just runs very smooth. And pretty grateful for that. So, any other questions? Come on. Yes.
So the inmates that are in there, is that all short-term?
Well,
Can it be years?
it can be over a year now, because we have DOC, we have a contract with the Department of Corrections where we take people from all over St. Cloud, because they're full, right? So DOC will bring down, right now we have probably 40 DOC inmates that are in for a variety of charges. And a lot of them are just waiting to be released. So we have different names for them: release offenders and release violators, housed off facility, HOFs. I'm getting used to this acronym thing pretty quick, but there's a lot of them. But yeah, some can stay for more than a year now in our jail because of that. So, yep. How about you?
I read in the written paper about the RNs in the jail now, instead of just your staff doing
Yep,
prescriptions.
we contract with is it ACRA? It's a business, actually, that hires nurses and doctors, that we contract with them. In fact, our next year's budget, I think, is $420,000, somewhere in there, to contract for healthcare services in our jail. But we have to provide that, right? We don't have a choice. But we have a great company that comes in, and it's local nurses, and they're there every day. We have 4 full-time nurses, and then a doctor that comes in to distribute medications and do that once a week, I think. He's a retired doctor out of Red Wing. So our nurses are there all the time. They're not there 24/7, but they're there long enough to get everybody their night meds, everything that they need. And if for some reason we need to bring somebody to the hospital in the evening, we do that too. So yeah, we have a very, very good relationship with that contracted company.
Well, what kind of meds would they need? Did they come in needing health issues or opioids?
Oh,
You
sure.
have the
We
opioid.
just brought, we had someone from the DOC come in that had medications that cost $9,000 a month. And that would have been on us, on the Goodhue County taxpayers.
Oh, really?
We finally said, no, state, come back and get them, because this isn't what we signed up for. Okay? Yeah, so we're responsible for that. And so we sent that person back, which we have that, it's in our contract, we can do that. But yeah, any number of things, heart medications, whatever any normal person may or may not need, we have to provide that for them.
What do you consider normal?
That's a good question. I can't answer that. I know I'm not normal, so.
What was the question again?
She said, who do you consider normal? I said, like, remember what I told you? I said any normal human being might need medication.
Oh, okay, normal.
She said, who's normal? Probably no one in here.
Yeah, I know. When you ran, and what was your goal if you became sheriff?
Okay,
Were you able to work at it?
fantastic question. She asked, what were some of my goals when I ran for sheriff, and have I been able to achieve some of those? Let me tell you something. I have one of my flyers that you guys may or may not have gotten in the mail or at your door, okay? I have it on my desk, and the reason I have it on my desk, and I just told Jeremy this, I said I want to look at those goals that I said I was going to do and make sure I'm doing them. This is a reminder for me, okay? And so far, I think we've been doing pretty well. One of them was to take care of the people who take care of us, okay? That's take care of our deputies, give them what they need, get them their tools, their equipment, their vehicles, their technology. Not only that, is get them care if they need it, right? Mental health care or whatever. So we're putting on a 8-hour class in January, and it's going to be mandatory for all staff, including dispatchers, jailers, patrol, just so they know that there's help for them too, and then it'll also help us deal with people on the streets. So if we can't deal with our own issues, we can't deal with your issues, right? It's difficult. So we've come a long way in law enforcement where we know that things that we've seen over the 30 years or so, that stuff doesn't go away, okay? I think I sat here last year during the campaign and said, I'm not the same person I was when I started 30 years ago, and that's because of the job. What we've seen, what we've heard, what we've done changes you. But it's how you deal with that and how you cope is what makes you either a more positive or better police officer or person, but you can see how you could tank real fast, right? And some deputies and police officers do that. So we have to make sure that we keep that in mind. I just met with Trooper Dan Lewis. If anybody knows him, he's retiring from State Patrol after 34 years. But he's big into peer support. The State Patrol got into a peer support. And that means if I went to a death of a baby at a house, okay, that's never easy, right? And so I'm going to get that. That's one of my other 2020 goals, is to get a peer support group within the county, not only the Goodhue County, but I'm going to reach out to Jeff. I'm going to reach out to all the chiefs in the county to see if they're willing to put one or maybe two of their people to training to have this group of people that can reach out to a deputy, just say, hey, how you doing? How you doing after that? And that's all it really has to be, to show somebody that you care and reach out in another 2 weeks, how you doing? Because things change after 2 weeks of seeing something traumatic like that. And then maybe again at the anniversary date. Because we remember, it's weird, but we do remember dates and times and circumstances and intersections. I was a coroner for 8 years, and I've been a cop for 30. It drives my wife crazy, but I think it's a way of me coping. When I drive up a Highway 52, I see a certain patch of woods. I remember that a gal killed herself there every time. I remember the motorcycle crash at a certain intersection. You just do. Tom, you guys agree? And that's part of this peer support, that it just helps to talk about it, okay? Talking is healing, right? We don't have to be therapists, but we just have to know that someone's there. They got our back. It's confidential. So that's something that I'm looking forward to get going. And I mentioned earlier, community engagement. That's another big goal of mine for 2020. I want to have an actual team. So Tom is the epitome of community engagement. You agree?
You bet.
Cannon Falls PD is the epitome of community engagement too. With this and what they do. I could never compete with that. But
We'd like to hear that.
you guys are, no, you're doing it right. And that's something that I think the county has lacked over the years that I want to get back. I want you guys to know who your deputies are. This is kind of an anomaly with this group and Tom, but we need to do that in Pine Island. We need to do that in Kenyon. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. That's a nice word.
those are some of my goals. Okay, and
But I think it's almost harder for the deputies because you're so far away from all of us.
it is.
Here, we can see them, but they had to train me in because I'm from the cities.
Mhm.
And the cities, I'm sure the cops are nice, but I didn't see them unless it was in my rearview mirror, you know.
And that's what.
One.
Yeah.
And I work for a sheriff's department, and that's it. It's that population density.
Right.
But, you know, for the sheriff's office, they serve, you know, contract for Wanamago, for Pine Island.
Yep.
So it's just establishing and doing that outreach.
I'm super excited about it, and we're going to be more involved in Night to Unite
We'll bring that to fruition.
and the fair. If you guys go, did you guys go to the fair this year? County fair? No? So we kind of made a whole new look. We got new banners, and we just tried to update our brand, if you will. Everybody's got their picture, and you can come and see our whole staff, and I'm really, really excited about that, and we're going to keep doing that. Last thing I want to point on is another goal of mine is to recognize our people, which I think had kind of faltered over the years as well, and no fault of anyone. But this year, like I say, we have 14 new hires, 10 promotions this year alone. And granted, we have 114 staff, but that's a lot for 1 year. So, in every December, we have an award ceremony where, you know, we'll give a citizen a life-saving award, or a deputy a life-saving award, or a baby, what do you call it, a stork award? If you've delivered a baby, which we have done a few. I've got one under my belt. Anyway, I didn't want to take away from that, so I'm going to have a separate promotional swearing-in ceremony in December. For all the new staff, where they can come and you know, their spouses or partners, children can pin their badge on it. And it just means, I think it's super important to recognize that. We're all a family, so when you can get your wife up there, or husband, and pin their badge on it, it just kind of makes it real, you know what I mean? So I'm going to do that for all the new promotions and hires for 2019 here in December. I'm still working on it. And it's been a process, but
I got one question.
yeah.
They're having a rash of murders up in St. Paul, and Minneapolis has had that another
Yeah.
year. What is a thing that's going on in our area? Is it drugs, opioids, or
Unfortunately.
is it people,
No,
husband-wife type situation? What's the major thing here?
I think, and it's been that way for several years, it's still drugs. It's still meth is our drug of choice. I had a good friend of mine die of an overdose, but that was opioid related, and it was laced with fentanyl. If any of you guys know what that is, that's extremely dangerous. So we do have that. We're seeing more of it. And meth, I think I've talked to you guys about this too. We don't have meth labs anymore. Remember 10 years ago we had meth labs?
Yeah.
That's not even a thing anymore. Thank God for law enforcement, because we don't want to walk into meth labs. That was terrible, right? But now we don't want to walk in and get fentanyl powder on our shirt, and all of a sudden you end up dead because it's happened. So we just run into different dangers now with that. And that's real. And the cops are dying because of that stuff. But meth is so cheap too. I mean, they get it from Mexico, and you can't make it for what you can buy it for now. So that's the bad part. And they're always one step ahead of us. I don't know. I don't have a great answer for it, but we just took off, and it started in Goodhue County, 56 pounds of meth. It originated in Goodhue County. We ended up taking them down through our task force, and we found the car in Olmsted County. But that was our case, and that's a lot of meth. 56 pounds. What was the value of that, you guys remember? $500,000 maybe?
That would have come up from Mexico?
It did. It did come up from Mexico.
More than 56 pounds, though. That was after.
That was in one tank of gas. We found it in the gas tank of a truck. So they must have had to stop, and they only had like 10 gallons of gas because the rest took up meth, right? So we tracked it from Colorado actually, and we got it in Olmsted County. But yeah, there's a lot of that, and how many trucks came up that we didn't get? That's the bad part. That's really the bad part.
So what would you advise a citizen if they see something suspicious? Just text it in or something, because you don't want to take your time away if it's just stupid.
I think all the law enforcement here would agree, and this is the saying that's gone forever, is see something, say something. I mean,
weird.
I don't know, we do have text 911 to 911, but I think it's easier now just to dial it. And it's not inappropriate to call 911 if you think this person is indeed doing something wrong and going to leave. We don't want that to happen. We'd like to investigate that, but we also have a non-emergency call number.
Okay, I have a question. I'm checking a friend's house in the country.
Mhm.
Okay, so as I drive by, I can see if there's a stray car there. What should I do? I had thought, well, gee, I'd go block their driveway because they have fencing coming up. But no, they'd probably just smash my car, and I just got my baby car.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that.
No, so.
You want to call us, especially if you know no one's supposed to be there. If you're just checking on a house and know
Right.
that's not supposed to be there, I would just drive
It's
by.
gonna take you guys 20 minutes to get there.
It may. I would just stay at a safe distance.
Safe distance and watch.
Yeah, if you could get a license plate, don't
Yeah.
confront anyone, but I know that's pretty hard to do too, without being that close.
Because,
But you could sure know a color of a car. You could
Okay.
probably know if it's a van or a truck,
Thank
right?
you. Color
So-
bands I can do, but I'm
Yeah.
really bad. Okay.
Yeah, a gray truck just pulled out of this driveway. It's not supposed to be there.
Okay.
That's the kind of thing that we need,
I was wondering if that'd be,
Because
years ago at the same place, I got to see part of a car behind the house. And so, but my husband was with me, so we drove up, and it was the girlfriend of the guy just filling up his refrigerator because he was coming back from a trip. Yeah. And but the neighbor had been robbed that day.
Oh, really?
We didn't know that. But anyway, so, it was cool for me, and I didn't know about the neighbor being robbed the same day, so, okay. Just want to know.
Yep, definitely call us. And we have a system out in the county that we do actually drive by people's houses. They'll call in and say, can you check our house? I'm going to Florida for 4 months.
Yeah, I'd heard up in the cities when we lived there, you didn't want the cops to do that because somebody else was following the cop and they would.
Well,
I don't know if that's.
and they probably don't have the kind of time that we can devote to that too.
Oh,
We have one officer that does that for us and kind of puts it all on a sheet. So the deputies at night can say, I checked on this property. And
okay.
so that's a good
Created
system.
the program in about 2007, so the home check program.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's on its fourth handler now, so it's the fourth person doing it.
Yeah. So you could put your friend on, or your friend could even
And
call in
actually,
too.
For me, I want to check that the house is warm.
Well, we're not going to go in a house, but
Right.
we'll see if
Right. So,
sometimes they'll say this light is always on,
yeah.
or this light's never on. So if we drive by, like, well, that's not supposed to be on.
There you go.
Things like that they'll put in the notes. Or this cars should always be parked here. Things like that. And that's the kind of things you should ask your friends if you're going to watch their house. Is anybody allowed to go in? If so, do they have a car because I don't want to call the
That's
police
true.
if I know that this Volkswagen Beetle is supposed to be there sometimes. So just do your research before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jan?
Yeah.
About 30 years ago, quite a long time, out in the pasture, there was marijuana growing,
Mhm.
it grows wild. And my husband was fixing the fence with my son, and they noticed a big garbage bag there. So he went and looked, and it was a bag of marijuana somebody had picked.
Oh, really?
Come back and get it. So he thought he would teach the son a lesson, or called the sheriff, and they came out,
Mm.
took the bag away, and, taught the son that.
It was his son?
No, it wasn't, no. he
Oh, it
only
wasn't?
liked
Oh,
it,
okay.
But he wanted to show him that, you know, it's not a good thing to do. And-
No.
But it was all moldy and everything, so it had been there a while, but.
Sure. And cows don't eat it because I have it in my
Oh,
pasture too.
Oh, no, no.
But the THC level on something like the ditchweed, we call it, right, is so much lower than the stuff they manufacture now. It's off the charts.
Oh, yeah.
Off the charts. Not that it's still not legal, but
But we gotta get up to date on the battle that you had with the tree. And
well, sure, yeah. If you got time,
How are your wrists? I see you've got the cast off and everything.
I got the cast. So most of you read Rosie's article after my accident, right? So
Was that your son who took the picture of you?
I believe so, yeah, with my candy cane casts. Because it was Christmas time.
That was so cool.
So does everybody know that I got hit by a tree? Okay. I ended up in the hospital for a while and then had my cast on and I actually got sworn in with the cast. I think I just had the one on then. But anyway, the process has been, so November 26th is going to be my anniversary date of the accident. See how sometimes we remember dates? I'll never forget that. But they told me a year for my back, so I broke 4 vertebrae, 5 ribs in my back. And they said, it'll be a good year. Well, it's going to be probably more than a good year. But kind of my biggest nemesis right now is my left wrist that I really kind of destroyed. It's just not coming back like I thought it would, but I can do some things, but I can't do some certain things. Like a brown doorknob, it's kind of weird. It's just that certain movements that I can do it, but it hurts, and I usually just go to my right hand. But the best part is my right hand is fine. I had a little disfigurement going on, but I can do what I have to do as far as law enforcement goes. I'm not worried about that. I was hoping, my goal was to qualify with my weapon by July of this year, and I actually qualified in April, I believe. So I was ahead of the curve on that.
You left-handed?
I'm not.
You're
No.
okay,
So
you're right-handed.
so yeah. So that we're all
You
good
have to
there.
qualify with both hands?
We do actually, and that hurt. It still hurts. But that's only 6 rounds or 8 rounds.
Make all the other ones.
It's only like 8 rounds, so you're right. I had to do really good on my right hand, because then when in my left hand, and it's weak hand too, which means this is your weak hand, but this is really weak. And it's not two-handed either. So you have to grin and bear it, which I've done twice now. Or 3 times already this year. So yeah, that's my process. I'm still, every day you'll see me just grabbing my wrist, and it's probably annoying to some people, but it's just part of the healing process, I think. And I hope it's going to get better. 1 year is really not a long time when you think about the extent of some of the injuries that I actually did have. So I'm grateful to be here, certainly. Every day is a blessing.
Are you still out cutting trees?
I haven't cut a tree down. I have used a chainsaw against my wife's wishes, but I heat my house with wood, so I have to do that. I still enjoy it. I'm not afraid of it, but to cut a tree down, I probably will never need to have somebody else do it.
Yeah.
I think I don't know
Oh,
if
no,
it's
we-
post-traumatic stress or not, but I do have flashbacks once in a while. I can see the tree coming down on me, and then I'm just like, that's why my back hurts, because it's just crazy.
We
But
had a tornado go through here, so if you need any wood out in the country, we'll loan you some.
yeah, you guys
Hey,
had
he's
plenty.
great. He's got a collection.
I cut Ray's trees down. I helped
That's
Ray
right.
last fall before my accident.
Yes, he
Are you
talked
gonna have
about
a
that.
Citizens Academy in the spring?
Hey, I'm glad you asked that. No,
No, okay.
we're going to have one in the fall, this next fall.
Next, okay.
Okay? And that's because I wanted to get my community engagement team going first. Because those are the people that are going to do that, right? So I just don't have anybody. I have people interested. I just don't have I don't have a team yet. And I want to get that going first.
Yeah, it takes a lot of.
It sure does, and I'm looking.
Plan for that?
A Citizens Academy will be
Oh, no,
8
I
or...
know that, I've
Oh.
done that, but the citizens.
Oh, my community engagement team. Remember I was talking about how Jeff, this is their community engagement team, all these
For us,
guys.
We pretty much engage all of our officers to our community.
They're it.
Okay,
I don't have that
He's
luxury.
got a larger organization, more specialties,
Yeah.
more spread out.
So,
yeah, the spread out part is, yeah.
so that's what I'm excited about. And so they will be doing the Citizens Academy. They will be helping at the fair. They'll be doing Night to Unite. They'll be going to this. They'll be going to other senior centers, just getting out and letting people know that we're still human. Because what did you say? We still put our shoes on like you do, right? And that's what we need people to know. We want people to know our people. Because you could drive around in a squad car and not see one person out in Goodhue County on any given day. And so I want our people to stop at the combine when they're sitting there having lunch and visit with them. That's my goal, to have people get out of the car and do that. And I think we're getting there. It's kind of a culture thing. But, right, Tom?
Very well put.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you for having me. That was awesome.